Recently, a post from House of Lowlights got over 9 million views claiming that Shai was flopping on every single play. Against the Spurs time and time again, he rose up for a jumper, then crumpled to the floor like he had been attacked. And the worst part, it worked. The entire Thunder team flopped, but they got the win as people commented, "What happened to the game I love?" You basically have to train to do that. OKC saw they can't win by playing basketball, so they have to cheat. Even crazier than these comments. As OKC flopped, we watched Isaiah Hartenstein pull Stephon Castle's hair and hold Wemby's arms on seemingly every play. The NBA is not blind. They clearly see how much fans hate this. So I have a question for you. Why is the NBA allowing this? Why are they not only letting the Thunder flop, but awarding this flopping with MVPs and championships? Because did you know the NBA already has an anti-flop rule in place? Refs are allowed to call a play a flop and then hand out a technical foul only. They don't use it. Let's watch here on this play as Hartenstein holds Wemby's arm. Then it's Hartenstein who falls to the ground after barely any contact and a foul was called. The Spurs challenged. The foul was overturned because Hartenstein flopped, but no technical foul was given out here. The NBA and the refs could have chose to make a statement, but instead they chose to do nothing. And after the game, Shai had a weird comment when he was asked,
"What kind of impact did Isaiah have tonight?"
I'm not sure if it was good, to be honest. Yeah.
Shai knew Hartenstein just held Wemby all game and that Wemby has already proven to be a psycho competitor who will do whatever he can to get even for these types of plays. In game one, we watched Wemby play at a level where we had to think, if he stays healthy, this might be the NBA's next GOAT. But will the refs give him a fair chance? Because the NBA is actively choosing not to punish flopping. Against the Lakers, Chet had an unforgivable flop when he pretended Aiden elbowed him in the mouth, and then Chet purposely stayed on the ground holding his mouth, selling the call. The Lakers weren't buying it. They challenged. The call was overturned. Chet was exposed, but no flop was called. Nothing happened. Why? As the thing is, somehow the most annoying thing about the Thunder is not just that they are flopping. It is the unevenness of these calls. Yes, I've already mentioned Hartenstein is grabbing Wemby every chance he can get, and he's getting away with it. He should have fouled out of the game like 3 times. But also, Chet Holmgren has been spotted grabbing Wemby's arm in a very unsafe angle on this play. And during a free throw, he straight up stomped on Wemby's foot as the ball hit the rim. On either of these plays, Wemby could have ended up injured. And I don't think the NBA wants that at all. Wemby is set up to be their golden boy for the next decade or more. But I do think the NBA is allowing the Thunder to play in a way we all despise, because I think the league is leaning into one thing. But before we continue, I'm very excited to thank Whatnot for sponsoring today's video. Whatnot is the #1 live streaming auction app. Think of it as live streaming meets live auctions with a social media twist. It is a great social community for collectors or people who love the thrill of an auction. For instance, I love collecting basketball cards, and Whatnot is the best. On Whatnot, you could also trade for vintage items, sneakers, Pokemon. And I've really wanted to buy a new watch for a long time, so I'm just jumping on Whatnot to get one. As you could see, the bid process is so easy. I am getting outbid a bit here, but boom, just like that, I won the watch I wanted. Plus, if you follow me on Whatnot using the links down below or the QR code on the screen, you are going to automatically be entered to win $500 in Whatnot credits. $500! The winner will be picked in 1 month, so make sure to go download the Whatnot app. Link is in the description or use the QR code on the screen. And again, follow me for a chance to win $500 in Whatnot credits 1 month from now. Thank you again to Whatnot for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back into that video. They want the Thunder to be their villain, their heel, the team we love to hate watching. The NBA has now said it's a social media league. They monitor the views and comments they get on every clip, and they see so many people are complaining about the flopping, and the hate for the Thunder is spreading like wildfire all throughout X, TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, you name it. But the NBA isn't stopping it because the numbers speak for themselves. Spurs vs Thunder Game 1 set a record for the most watched Game 1 of a Western Conference Finals game ever. 9.2 million people watched this game. Those are NBA Finals numbers. Game 1 of last year's Finals had 8.9 million people watching. So what the NBA is doing is working. working, people are tuning in hoping that the villain goes down, at least for the short term. Because there's a real question here. Will there be long-term consequences if the Thunder continue to win with this style of play? Now, when flopping backfires, it's one of the most satisfying things we can watch on a basketball court. In game 1, Wemby hit this insane shot to tie the game.
5 on 4. Wemby's gonna pull a deep 3.
Oh my goodness! A logo shot!
An absolutely wild attempt. I'm sure Paul George would say this was a bad shot, but if we rewind this play, let's not focus on Wemby. Let's focus instead on Chet.
Pull up. Way off. Spurs got numbers hungry down behind the plane. 5 on 4. Wemby's gonna pull a deep 3.
Yup, we just saw Jalen Williams miss, and then Chet doesn't even really attempt to grab the rebound. Instead, he just throws himself to the ground, which led to him not being able to play defense. And next thing we knew, Wemby had tied this game up. Flopping was punished. But unfortunately, this is a rare case. Now, I know the refs get a ton of blame as we watch the actual game. It feels like, especially when it comes to the Thunder, they just make so many bad calls. Like on this play, where Harrison Barnes went to go and set a pick, and Isaiah Joe just sent himself flying. The refs took the bait here and called a foul, and the Spurs had already challenged twice, so they couldn't even get the call reversed. Personally, I think that if you challenge the call and you get it correct, you should still be able to challenge again. I don't think you should be punished for the refs' incompetence and you being right. But if I were to defend the refs a little bit, and please put the pitchforks down, I'd say, what are they supposed to do sometimes? The Thunder are just flailing around like this on nearly every single play, and it's obviously the higher-ups at the NBA that are making the call to not hand out technicals or fines, or even better yet, suspensions for flopping. So the refs are only able to give us a really good no call. They can choose to ignore a 7-footer who is screaming as he flies to the ground, or sometimes they get fooled by the flopping and then they make a bad call that goes viral on Twitter. Just not a good look for anyone involved. But there is some good news. If the NBA does ever actually feel like things have gone too far, they can fix things quickly. They have done so in the past. Kevin Durant was famous for drawing fouls with a rip-through move, where he would wait until a defender's hand was near his shooting arm, then pull up on a shot attempt that pretty much guaranteed a foul would be called. The NBA decided this wasn't playing real basketball, it was foul baiting, so they decided this was no longer a shooting foul. The league also believed that James Harden was manufacturing too many fouls and not actually trying to put up shots. The league put in place several rules that stopped the foul baiting that James Harden used to do in order to get fouled, especially on threes. The reason was that eventually the outrage just got too high. But we are watching the same thing play out with the Thunder. A lot of times they are not looking to play basketball, they are looking to get fouled. So why is this taking so long to change? Is it going to take another Thunder title to actually see a movement? It might. And for now, we have to think about a really hard truth. How much do the Thunder and Shai practice these types of plays? That sounds insane to think about, but listen to what JB Bickerstaff had to say about James Harden.
We were together 4 years in Houston. You know, you would watch him and he and I would play one-on-one, and he would foul bait me. You know what I mean? Like, he would use, I'm serious, like, he would only get to play offense and I would play defense, and he would practice those things and he would work on them.
And while this is ridiculous to think about, flopping in practice, the thing is, you don't get this good at foul baiting unless you are purposely working at it. This is where I'll say the NBA is in a dangerous spot. If Shai and the Thunder continue to win and nothing is done about it, what is stopping the young players in the league from learning that, hey, I can get paid crazy amounts of money and even win awards if I'm able to sell contact better? Here's what we sometimes forget about superstars and about MVPs. Kids grow up watching them and want to be them. They spend time shooting around in the driveway, recreating their moves. Steph Curry created a new generation of basketball. We've seen a tremendous rise in three-pointers since his arrival to the league because the most talented stars of the next generation grew up watching Steph and practice threes way more. Now imagine if Shai leaves the NBA and we are left with a huge increase in flopping among every team as more and more young players learn, if I flop, I'll get more free throws, and that also The defense can't guard me. That is the case with Shai. Defenders know he gets a lot of calls. They are afraid to be too physical with him, which means when he pulls up for a mid-range shot, he sometimes goes uncontested. He also sometimes shoves off and gets that mid-range shot, or falls on his face while shooting it. I do think eventually the fans will have had enough. It feels like we're already there, but the view numbers are telling us something different. But I think if the Thunder continue to get rewarded, eventually it will turn from wanting to see the villain lose to just, I'm not interested in watching a bunch of grown men flopping around. I want to watch actual basketball. And that is one of the most unfortunate parts about this Western Conference Finals. We have a top tier matchup on our hands. Wemby and Chet were supposed to be the storyline of this series. Victor has had it out for Chet since he lost to him in the 2021 U19 FIBA World Cup. Since then, it's come out that Wemby's biggest motivation this season was that Chet already had a championship. And we've seen him purposely go at Chet whenever he can, dunking on him and screaming in his face, celebrating after Chet missed a clutch free throw, telling the media that basketball-wise, there is no comparison between him and Chet. Chet has ducked this rivalry, which should be a story in itself, but that story has been drowned out largely from something we never wanted, a different story. Will Victor Wembanyama prove to be a hero, or will the floppers be rewarded? Will the unethical play style win out? Unfortunately for right now, the NBA has learned any attention, good or bad, is currency. And the way to get the most attention is to always make us feel something. The Thunder won 64 games, and we hate how they did it. Shai won the MVP, and his nickname is the Foul Merchant. We can't stand it. The Spurs, meanwhile, won 62 games. We have loved watching their young core, and Wemby finished third in the MVP race. When he watched the announcement for Shai winning the MVP, it looked like the beginning of a new hero arc, and was not going to let the MVP go to another player anytime soon. And really, good versus bad is one of the most classic storylines you can set up. So for us fans who are already watching the NBA, we are going to tune in to see if justice is served. But what about the casual fans who don't already watch the NBA, but would be willing to watch the league if the product was good enough? Well, in a sea of problems, that is where the biggest problem comes in. The Thunder are going to be title contenders for the foreseeable future. They have an extremely talented young core. They have a million first-round picks. They have probably the best front office in the league. We're going to be watching them win for a long time. And also, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just became the 14th player ever to win back-to-back MVPs. He is a guaranteed Hall of Famer, and in this current generation, even if you don't like him, he is one of the biggest faces in the league. How could an NBA champion, Finals MVP, and MVP not be? But we've never seen one of the game's true stars actually face this much backlash. People just don't like watching Shai play. They don't like watching the Thunder play. Even if we compare the current narrative to when LeBron left for Miami or when Kevin Durant left for the Warriors, both LeBron and KD still had their diehards who rode with them no matter what. That's because people just didn't like some of their decisions, not their style of basketball. Shai has his Thunder fans, but almost everyone else cannot stand watching flopping and foul baiting. And the NBA can put a stop to this. They can hand out techs and suspensions, and flopping would be erased. But a title has already been won. Another might be on the way, and Shai is already a two-time MVP. So the league needs to put an end to this now before its history gets written by who can flop the best. So there we have it. Thank you for watching today's video. If you did, I really think you're going to like the videos that are on the screen. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You are awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day and cue that music.